Hey, welcome back to another edition of Everything Football. I'm your host, Jonathan Big Tex Johnson. You guys already know what I'm pretty much getting ready to jump in right here. I've already done pieces or a piece basically on Bill Polian, the ex Buffalo Bill as well as Indianapolis general manager, uh, called I think the hypocrisy of Bill Polian. Although Bill Polian being a intricate part of our sport, the NFL, being a Hall of Famer, a great GM, and all of the glitz and glamour, six-time NFL Executive of the Year, and all the things that goes along with it. He made a statement not too long ago about saying about Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson should actually be should change to wide receiver. He actually said Lamar Jackson was actually too short to play quarterback in the NFL, which is contradictory to like some of the players that he's actually had and some of the players that he's actually talked about in the past. Again, like I said, Bill Polian, great GM, but my thing of it is that Bill Polian, being somebody was basically born in 1942 or 43, whenever he was born in the 40s and whatnot, he has a particular mindset, and his mindset still is back from the 60s, from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and whatnot. For the most part, of his traditional, the traditional what a quarterback is supposed to look like. Now, Polian has built some great teams and have done a lot of great things. But the one thing that I've seen about him in making a statement, because like I said, I dealt with him from the aspect of how he was talking, how he was being the contradictions of himself, even within his character, when he was talking about Terrell Owens and Randy Moss, not if he had votes for the Hall of Fame and all this type of stuff, how he wouldn't vote for them, that they don't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, and all this kind of stuff, not due to their playing ability, but actually due to their character, which of course I said last year, and it came to fruition that both of them was going to go in the Hall of Fame at the same time in 2018. You just go look, just go to my YouTube page, and you'll see about the voting. Is the voting process, Hall of Fame voting process, flawed? And I figured T.O. versus Randy Moss, and I already told you guys that they was going to go in there. And again, and like I said, and I looked up, and I went and did some research. I went and did some research, looked up, and that's kind of my thing. Search and then research. Search is looking for something, and then you go back and research it again. That means to do over again. Okay, so what I ended up doing, I went and did some research. Now, him being basically going he came to the Buffalo Bills came in as a general manager in 1986. Now, one of the things that I've seen that from 1986 to 1992, right? Now, being in the 1983 draft, which is the draft that pretty much set off to what you see today, in today's football, in the NFL draft, start off, I think, was probably one of the greatest drafts of all time. Some people may talk about the 74 draft and whatnot and everything, but the greatest draft to kind of put it in the stratosphere and taking it to where it's at right now would be the 83 draft. And like I said, we've talked about that draft. That's had the draft of Eric Dixon, John Elway, Dan Marino, Kurt Warner, lots of guys, a lot of Hall of Famers and whatnot. Jim Kelly, who I'm gonna speak about as well. These guys was in that of the, in that particular, it's basically known as the quarterback draft, because you had Elway, you had Marino, you had Jim Kelly. So all three of those guys are in the Hall of Fame. Eric Dickerson was a Hall of Famer as well, and everything. So, great draft. And then later on, like I said, one of the drafts is similar to that would be that of the 1989 draft, where you have Aikman, Deion Sanders, Barry Sanders, Derek Thomas. That's 4 Hall of Famers right there, and a lot of Pro Bowlers and All Pros and whatnot. So I went and actually looked up. So like I said, Bill Polian done a lot of great things. Now, being that in the 1983 draft, Jim Kelly actually went up, if I'm not mistaken, number 14 in that draft, the first pick. Now, this was in 83. Remember, if you go back and take a look at the documentary, when they're talking about quarterbacks, actually talking about Marino, I think it was called Marino to Elway, you'll see where Jim Kelly did not want to go to the Buffalo Bills. He was picked number 14, if I'm not mistaken, in the 1983 draft. He didn't go. He ended up going to USFL, played a couple of years there until the USFL folded. He came back there in '86 and started playing quarterback, which ironically was the same year that Bill Polian started as general manager. Now, having said that, they had already drafted the Bills brass had already drafted Jim Kelly before Bill Polian had became a general manager in '83. He was, like I said, in '83. He came in '86, right? So then he had him there. And again, Jim Kelly was his measurables 6'2", 226. You know what I'm saying? Lamar Jackson actually 6'3", about 211, 212. Okay, that just goes to show you about what he's talking about, because it makes me think that Bill Polian's on his old senile old man shaking his finger rant at people right about nowadays. But I'll get back into that a little bit later on. So then, okay, so they already had Jim Kelly in '86. So of course we all know about the Bills. It's documented. It's been documented. 4 straight Super Bowls, the whole 9 yards, this, that, and the other. Great, got that and whatnot. But again, that was something that Bill Polian, you could say, well, he was a part of it, which, yeah, he's a part of it, but that's not the quarterback he picked, because that quarterback already was picked in '83. And because he went to the USFL, the Bills had the rights to him. So when the USFL folded, the Bills went on and took him. And then the rest, of course, is history. Now, he went from '86 to 1992. He left, took a couple of years off of whatever he went to go do. Then by 1995, he actually went to the expansion Carolina Panthers. Now, what did he do in 1995? He ended up, his quarterback for the Carolina Panthers was the great, Kerry Collins from out of Penn State, who, if you go back and look, he had a mediocre college career, did his thing there basically for the most part his senior year, and came up with some ended up being I think, if I'm not mistaken, he was a number 5 pick in the first round. Now, the best and that was a weak draft as far as quarterback is concerned, but the best quarterback in the draft at that time was the great Steve McNair, right? McNair didn't have prolific everything, but he's a 3-time Pro Bowler, All Pro a couple of times, and he was also a NFL MVP that he actually shared with Peyton Manning, I believe, in 2003, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so that's what happened. So the best quarterback in that particular draft would be that of Steve McNair. Now, this is what he got. Now, the thing about the measurables of that of Kerry Collins, of course, being from Penn State, and I already talked to you guys about this whole Penn State thing and how Penn State is a system and already had a particular type of reputation and whatnot. Now, again, I was talking about running backs when I was talking about Saquon Barkley and his potential landing spots and what he can possibly do, and my whole shakiness when it comes to that of running backs that coming out of Penn State, and how far away a lot of those things are when you're dealing with that particular type of back. Not saying that the young man can't be that, like I said, but time will tell. But think about Penn State quarterbacks. Really start thinking about that, because before Kerry Collins, who came out there and that '95 draft, '95, you go back, '85, that's 10 years, really nobody. '85, and then '85, '84, '83. So you're talking about 12 years, because they had Todd Blackledge, who actually went before Dan Marino, which was mind-boggling to anybody that knew anything about college football at that particular time. How did he even go before Dan Marino, who didn't go until later on? That's because it was Penn State, there was a winner, et cetera, yada, yada, yada. We all know how that goes. System, Happy Valley, Joe Pa, that whole thing there. So that's pretty much why. So the same thing would account for that of dealing around with, dealing with Kerry Collins and whatnot. So when you break a lot of that stuff down, and I said Kerry Collins coming out of there. Kerry Collins, nothing extraordinary that he did, but his senior year was solid, especially for that time and era. 67% completion percentage, 2,679 yards, 21 touchdowns, seven picks, and they did some good things. They ran the they won the Rose Bowl and all of that good stuff. Along with that, of having Kajana Carter. So you're thinking, okay, guys, and look, not taking anything, Kerry Collins had a nice long ball, came back with the ball real long, like almost like a slingshot, had a nice strong arm, but just really was not like that. We go through a few things with him. 95. So in 1995, I think by the time in 1996, uh, they had they actually went to the NFC Championship game with him there. He, again, strong running game, good defense. Later on, some years, 2000, because this is the quarterback that he picked again. The measurables of Kerry Collins: 6'5", 247, big kid, big guy, right? That's what Bill Polian's looking for. This is the quarterback that he got. He goes to the Panthers for 2-3 years, and this is the quarterback that he picked expansion draft, and they're coming up, and things look promising. Okay, let's give him that. But like I said, Collins 6'5", 247, stay in pocket quarterback, traditional quarterback. Okay, got that right. Now let's go through his career. Some of the things that he basically went on and did. Now we were talking about Kerry Collins. Like I said, drafted 5th in the first round. He went to 2 Pro Bowls. Okay, he went to 2 Pro Bowls. That was that in 1996, second year I believe, and in 2008 I think when he was with the Tennessee Titans. Right now, what he ended up doing basically that particular year, say 96. Let me just go through this stuff real quick. 56% completion rate, 2,454 yards, 14 touchdowns, 9 picks. Okay? Again, strong running game, no good defense and whatnot. Right? That's what he did. Okay, I'm going to just stop there. But he basically, from 95 to 98, he lasted really 95, 97 because he didn't do much of anything. He only played 4 games in 1998. Now, we go back into 1998. What is the thing that's happened? Collins started he saw that 0-4 start. Don Capers was the coach there, right? He ended up he goes to that of Don Capers and said that his heart is not in it, right? I don't feel like I can play right now. He asked to be traded. Now he only been there in the franchise for a couple of years, right? Placed on waivers. So Carolina during the 1988 season subsequently signed with the New Orleans Saints to finish the season with 7 more starts but only 2 wins. Right? Now Collins ended up getting caught drunk driving, and he had some alcoholic issues and alcoholic issues and whatnot that he ended up having, that he ended up speaking about and whatnot. So that was who Bill Polian picked to go with that of the Carolina Panthers in 1995, 96, 97 as his quarterback for that particular franchise, right? So basically, he ended up becoming a journeyman. In 2000 again, 3,610 yards, 22 touchdowns, 13 picks. Okay, 58.8 completion ratio, strong running game with the Giants and a good defense. They end up going to Super Bowl, losing to that of the Baltimore Ravens. So he went to 2 NFC Championship games, like again, with a couple of good running teams and some defense, and he just kind of managed the game. 2008, like I said, plays for the Tennessee Titans. Started 16 games, 12 touchdowns, 7. Again, a nice mixture of running the ball and a good, pretty decent defense that he had there. He ended up basically being a journeyman. He played for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams, look like, that he ended up playing for. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so I can say 6 teams that he ended up playing for. So this is what Bill Polian put on the field. Guy, 6'5", 247. Okay. Now, you look back up from 1997, he goes to the Indianapolis Colts. 1997, that's a 3-13 record, if I'm not mistaken. 3-13 record. They ended up first pick in the 98 draft. We know the infamous 1998 draft. That has to basically do with that Peyton Manning and Ryan Leaf. Now, you go back to that particular draft, which we're going to go to it. You'll see that, I remember that draft came out, and I'd already been kind of following Peyton Manning at that time, knowing that he was Archie Manning, was always a solid quarterback, but played on some pathetic teams with the Saints. You go back and you look up, and what happened that particular, like it was this thing between Ryan Leaf and between that of Peyton Manning. That was a pretty much a no-brainer. Everybody pretty much knew who was going to go first. You got the kid who was all about football, comes from the pedigree of football, so you already knew he was going to basically go first. All right, so that was really a no-brainer right there. So Bill Polian, instrumental, I'm sure, and basically get that, but they fell in his lap after a 3-13 start. They fell in his lap, right? So there was a no-brainer that Peyton Manning was going to come out after he could have probably came out and went first, probably in 1997, but ended up coming out in 98 in that 98 draft, right? So right there from 98 to 2011, so you had all those victories, all the things that the coach did, the prolific offenses and the 10, 11, 12 win regular season games that Manning helped orchestrate and whatnot and all that. So, and those are the types of things, it's like I said, fell in his lap. So we all know the history of Peyton Manning. After the 2000, I think from the coach from 1997 to 2009, if I'm not mistaken, that's when where Bill Polian, I think actually stayed there with that of the Colts. Now, having said that, with Bill Polian and basically what he went on in, you know what I'm saying, and what he went on and going to do, like I said, it was 97, 2009, yeah, general manager, and then he was the team president in 98 to 2011. So really from 1997 to 2011, he was that with the Colts and got him a chance. Like I said, Polian 6-time executive of the year, as well as, like I said, with the Colts as a team president from 98 to 2011. Now, in 98, that's what, got him there, and that got him, did all the things he did. He has his quarterback. 6'5", 230, Peyton Manning, which fell in their lap like manna from the sky. Manning was like manna from the sky as you go biblical, if you want to go, biblical with that type of stuff. Just a little joke there for those that know. But yeah, had manna fall from the sky, which was Peyton Manning, who came from out of the sky in the 98 draft, that would set them on the course of winning a lot of games and eventually end up winning the Super Bowl. Okay, now after the 2011 season, because 2010, Manning basically got hurt. 2011 is all of 2011. And then subsequently ended up basically getting traded after the 11th season. 2012 ended up going to the Broncos. 2012 in the draft, they ended up getting Andrew Luck. I already did a piece on Andrew Luck and what's going on with him, trying to replace a legend. I've already did, like I told you guys, I'm already up on a lot of this type of stuff. You go back, they always talking about Andrew Luck. I've already done a piece on Andrew Luck and the similarities between Andrew Luck trying to replace a legend in the Indianapolis Colts or that of a coach, which goes back to that of the Baltimore Colts, goes back to that of Burt Jones and the 72 draft trying to replace a legend in Johnny Unitas, and it didn't work due to injuries. But go back and check out what I'm saying. So I'm saying all that to say this. It's like, really, as far as a quarterback is concerned, does he really have an eye for a quarterback? For him to say the things that he said about that of Lamar Jackson, does he really have an eye for a quarterback? Right? Because where he picked the quarterback at, the main place that he actually picked the quarterback, that's something that he had to go about and clambering around and doing, was that of Kerry Collins. And we basically see he ended up being basically a journeyman. He got to a Super Bowl. He did a few things here and there, but really he was a journeyman quarterback who did not live up to expectations, who really wasn't that great coming out of college to begin with. Okay, but he played at the factory, Penn State, under Joe Pa. So they won. That's it. A lot of times them guys get a pass because they win, and then that's what ends up happening. Then, now, you talk about Lamar Jackson. I've already spoke about that. I'm going to go a little long. I'm going to go a couple more minutes on this here. Now, it was an article that was written in SB Nation, right, by a guy who's a coach, also a quarterback coach named Seth Galina. Right, and it's basically entitled "No, Lamar Jackson isn't a damn wide receiver." And this is something I've already talked about Lamar Jackson. That's one of the things that a lot of guys give me some props for talking about him, saying different things about him and everything. And I'm gonna run this down the line to you right quick. And like again, I don't try to make this out of being a black and white issue. I try to make it out to be a racial issue. This is something that they do. Bill Polian is doing this to himself. He keeps opening his mouth, and all you will constantly keep doing is finding the contradiction in what he says and what he does is an indirect contrast of what he calls himself being all about. From talking about character, the Hall of Fame, and the antics that he actually pulled, shoving the guy at New York Jets because of playing music too loud in the stadium and all this kind of stuff when his other team was trying to practice and warm up and all this other kind of stuff, and just some of the off-mark comments that he makes and whatnot. So let's go ahead and do this here. Because like I said, because this whole thing is getting extremely old and it shouldn't even be about this. But let's do this. And like I said, of the 34 quarterbacks in the Hall of Fame, only one is black. That's Warren Moon, who is a pocket passer who had to prove himself with the Edmonton Eskimos, the CFL, and the rest is basically history. You think the narrative would be changed if you have Carolina Panthers quarterback first overall pick, Cam Newton. You could tailor your offense to transcend the players. And if you give them the receivers and not name Brenton Burson, then can be good. Then he could be a good passer too. I've already done a thing on Cam Newton and why people's hating on Cam Newton, and compared the two careers, the first 7 years of Drew Brees' career as well as Cam Newton's career, and it's no comparison. You know what I'm saying? But they try to put Cam and have him going against legends, and legends hadn't even done really what he had done. But that's another story. Okay. Now, however, black quarterbacks aren't just asked to change positions when they move to the NFL. It starts from high school to college. Of the black players who played quarterback in high school, 62% changed positions in college, per the study. Some moves are in the best interest of players, but only 16% of white quarterbacks change positions. Researchers found 22% of all players switch positions. The study found that after controlling for certain factors, black quarterbacks are 38.5, which is almost 39%, getting close to 40, more likely than white quarterbacks to change positions. Ridiculous. It's something unobservable that's driving that result. You know, and we have to sit up there and say that. So Bill Polian falls in that with saying these things, talking about that. If we sit up there, they say it's 2018 and we're doing it again with Lamar Jackson. They try to put him in the run first category. Look at his passing yards over the past 2 years. I'm not going to even throw in his freshman year when he started 7 or 8 games. I'm not going to even throw in that. I'm just talking about 16 and 17, right? They did this. Jackson had almost as many throws in 3. They're talking about Nebraska's Eric Crouch had more carries than pass attempts, while Jackson had nearly the opposite in 2017. Jackson had the most as many throws in 3 years as Crouch, and Arkansas' Matt Jones, who had to combine everybody. Remember Matt Jones out of Arkansas, who basically ended up being a cocaine deadbeat and ended up, knuckleheading himself out of the league. Eric Crouch never, didn't even happen. He said this player A, 59.1% completion, 3,660 yards, 27 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 8.7 adjusted yards per attempt, 1,601 yards rushing, and 18 rushing touchdowns in a Power 5 conference. Okay, player B, 56.3 completion, 1,812 yards and 16 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 6.9 adjusted yards per attempt, 24 yards rushing, and 5 rushing touchdowns in a group of 5 conference. You would pick player A over B without hesitation. Player A is obviously Jackson, whom anonymous scouts type say should be moved to wide receiver, while player B is Josh Allen. I've already done a piece on this. I've already told you guys about this. He's projected by Mel Kiper to be the number 1 because he's 6'5", 240 pounds, and he has a cannon for an arm. But did he win? He played at Wyoming. Did he win? Of course he didn't win. Yeah, that's his yards right there. He had 1 good year. That's it. Pro Football Focus. Quarterback stats take into account. Drop passes, throwaways, spikes, and yards in that. Jackson ranks 10th in the country with a 97.47 rating. Pretty good. Allen and USC's Sam Darnold, who might end up 1st and 2nd overall. Allen comes in at 80th, Darnold 52nd. Just as a passer alone, Jackson blows the two out of the water. And of course, my man can run the ball. We're not going to so what is the game here? And like I said this before, if Jackson did half of the things, if Jackson did what Sam Darnold basically did, or did what I should say Josh Allen did, we wouldn't even be talking about him in the 3rd or 4th round. Maybe the 3rd round. I've already talked about this, but I'm just letting you know. I'm just going back talking about Lamar Jackson and what he did, how he rates. Stop the disrespect. And that's what pisses me off more than anything is the disrespect. Stop disrespecting him. Can all these can Lamar Jackson end up becoming a bust? Of course he can. Nothing's guaranteed. But he deserves to be in the conversation, deserves to be in the top 10 picks of this draft based upon his resume as a college football player. And he played in the Power 5 conference. And he's a Heisman Trophy winner, 2-time ACC player of the year, 2-time All-American. What else do you want from this guy to do? He gave you almost 100 touchdowns in 2 years. What else do you want from him? And you got guys like Bill Polian, old fogies, them old farts, still running their mouth, still wanting to harking back to the days, and you're going to tell me because this guy's 6'3", he's too short to play quarterback, but yet you was giving props to Johnny Manziel, who they kept trying to say was 6'1", 210. Johnny Manziel, 5'11", 190 pounds. 195 pounds. He's not even as solid as Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's 5'11", 210. Manziel might be 5'11", 190 pounds. But he was saying he could throw the ball just as good as Jim Kelly. Now he's trying to retract. No, retract anything. Now you want to try to retract stuff even with Lamar Jackson. There's nothing to say. You've already said it. But you've never asked if Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen, Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, can they play wide receiver? See, that's what bothers me with this. And guys like Bill Polian needs to be stopped and called out on this from his contemporaries and from NFL players that's on those shows in NFL, that's on ESPN or anywhere for that matter, and say, man, sit down and shut up. Take your gold jacket and go sit down in the corner and go back and go look at your Bart Starr or whatever, Johnny Unitas or whatever them guys you want to go look at and stuff like that. But you have an issue, again, with Lamar Jackson because these are dual threat quarterbacks and these guys are coming out in the league and they're going to make a lot of noise. Cam Newton's already made the noise. Michael Vick showed you certain things, but Michael Vick wasn't all the way 110% committed. Vince Young, same thing. Randall Cunningham already showed you flashes back in the early 90s. Go back and look at that year that he basically won the NFL MVP. Over 3,000, over 30 something, right at 30 touchdowns. And he rushed for almost 900 and some odd yards and threw for over 3,000. Come on, man. These guys are going to revolutionize. And they've always been that. Just didn't give the opportunity to. Okay? So that's my rant basically on that and everything. Like I said, I go back, and I'm going to say this again. With Kerry Collins, that's his major quarterback for his building process. And this is a guy that led the league one year and had 23 fumbles. Kerry Collins, 23 fumbles. This is who Polian picked as his quarterback in the future in 1995. Everything else fell in his lap. So to me, he's suspect at picking a quarterback for the future for his teams. So that makes him say things the way he says about that of a Lamar Jackson. Okay? So you guys really appreciate that. Check me out on Twitter. Check me out on obviously Everything Football 62 here on YouTube. Subscribe. Appreciate the likes, the comments. Keep them coming. Like I said, I'm still, going to constantly keep working to get better. And like I said, as time comes on, be talking about, mock drafts and all that good stuff and coming up with combine and whatnot. Amen. And you guys have a good night. And we'll talk with you later. Thanks.